Thanks for joining me for another edition of Groove with Portia. I'm your host, Portia Booker, and yes, this is my real name. So I had someone ask me what is Groove with Portia. I answered nicely, I promise. Groove with Portia targets those who are curious, eager, and hungry for new information that can aid in their personal and professional development. Malcolm X once said, "Education is the passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today." Never stop learning. Be a sponge for the rest of your life. Before I jump into my topic for today, I want to start off with a little history lesson. So thanks for joining me in the studio, Dr. Yvonne Pointer.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I thank you for taking time out of your busy day because I know you got a lot of stuff going on, you know. So today is National Stress Awareness Day.
Wow.
It's observed annually on the first Wednesday of November. This is a day to identify and reduce the stress factors in your life. So there are many reasons for stress, especially in the workplace. You know, the job market is often difficult and many companies are downsizing. So a common concern is, especially around the holidays, if you're going to still be employed or not. So one of the things that this day is trying to get people to do is develop a routine to help lessen your tension. So go for a walk, do some deep breathing, maybe participate in yoga. I'm a writer. That's my life. So definitely always remember, stress is a killer. Don't get too stressed out, people. Find an outlet. What do you tend to do, Dr. Pointer, when you find yourself getting stressed out?
Well, first of all, I pray a lot. I've learned how to ask God to grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. It's almost futile to keep wrestling with something you can't do anything about. So I try to acknowledge if it's something that I could change or not. And if I cannot, then I'm going to work on letting it go. I love to read. So I can get lost in a good book, and that's what I use as a distressor, that I find something that kind of takes me away, like Calgon or whatever. So I'm reading the book right now, and I'm so caught up in it until anything that's around me is irrelevant because I'm so into that book.
What book are you currently reading?
The Water Dancer.
The Water Dancer.
Yes, Oprah's book club, book of the month, and it's about slavery. I mean, there's really some stuff in there to make you want to come out of that book and find something like Kumbaya-ish. But that's what I'm currently reading.
All right. Do you try to set a goal for like reading a book a month or?
Well, a lot of times people say to me, I don't have time to read. And I said, you don't have time to read. You make time to read.
Absolutely.
So I try to read something every day. And it's unfortunate that I get books that don't hold my interest. And sometimes I'm reading 2 and 3 books at a time. I don't know if that's good. But I just love words. And so I try to use them to replenish all that I give out. You got to put it back. It's like going to a gas station. If you don't ever put gas in your car, you're not going anywhere. So
Right.
We have to find in life, okay, you talk about stressing, but how do you replenish yourself?
Yeah, you have to take that self-care time.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about, like you said, how are you going to give out and there's nothing left of you?
Well, sometimes people don't know they're running on fumes and empty until something happens and then they go over the edge and you're like, well, why did I react like that? Well, it could be that you don't have anything inside of you. And so then that situation that stressed you is really a blessing because it makes you acknowledge that you need to replenish.
Well, it makes you aware.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing. Always be aware, everybody. So we're going to jump right into our topic today. I'm going to introduce our guest, Dr. Yvonne Pointer. Dr. Yvonne Pointer is nationally known Cleveland anti-violence activist, author, motivational speaker, philanthropist, and member of the Ohio Women's Hall of Fame. She is the founder of Positive Plus, a support group for women who have lost children through violence, and she is the co-founder of Parents Against Child Killing. Dr. Pointer appeared on Oprah Winfrey's show after the 1984 murder of her daughter Gloria, and she is now collecting donations and providing spiritual support for African children. The Gloria Pointer Teen Movement Initiative, founded by Ghanaian Anthony Tay, supports West African youth in obtaining an education and a healthy lifestyle. Thank you for joining me, Dr. Pointer.
Oh, I'm so honored to be here. You know, every time I hear my introduction, I'm looking around and like, who are they talking about? Because I still see myself as just Yvonne, who's got to get laundry done, who's got to go to the grocery store. So what does that say? It says that the average person can do great things. You don't have to be great. You could just be average and willing. So that's how I got in. Average. Really, really.
Well, I mean, you took, a tragic event in your life and turned it into something positive.
But it wasn't like that in the beginning. I was in the beginning looking for someone to do it because it needed to be done. So we see people today, Portia, they're expecting somebody else to do it. Somebody come in and save. Somebody come in and change. And it never occurs to any of us that we could be the someone we're looking for. When we look in society today, you see so much going on. So much violence, so much heartache, so much pain. So when my daughter was murdered, I sincerely was looking for somebody to do something. So because I kept looking for the person that never seemed to show up, I just acted as if I was that person until the person came. I was ready to just, okay, all right, you can take it from here. But the problem was they never came. So along the way, I became the person I was looking for. My daughter's homicide was an injustice to her, and she no longer had a voice, so somebody had to speak for her. I wish I would have brought one of my books, because in it is a poem called Mommy Speak for Me. We have to speak for the voiceless. And it's unfortunate, Portia, that some of us have this voice and we think it belongs to us. You off doing your thing, living your life. But it's so many who can no longer speak that needs you to lend your voice to them.
Absolutely. And, it's hard. Like you said, you were looking for that person to do what you decide to do. And you made that person come to life in you. The person was there all the time. You look at yourself in the mirror, you see yourself, but also in that self that you're looking at is the person you want.
Don't you see that same thing what you just said in characters in books and story? You bring that character to life. As I mentioned earlier about the book that I'm reading, this is a fiction of somebody's imagination, but they brought it to life so until I almost want to meet the person, right? There is no person. So what Gloria Pointer is no longer alive. I get that. Her physical body is no longer here, but she's been brought to life by the actions of her mother. A lot of people who've never met her feel as if they know her because I bring her to life.
Yeah, you keep it strong. It's like a fire that continues to burn. And in your case, it doesn't burn out.
And it's not really even only about her. This is what I've had to learn, that an injustice anywhere is an injustice everywhere. So it started with Gloria's homicide, and it has just like a ripple effect taken on the life of other children who have no one to speak for them. As a matter of fact, there's a case that we're looking at that's over 50 years old. Well, maybe, if not 50, a long time.
Wow.
And this young lady who was murdered back then was a foster child. And who would speak for her? So now we're looking at it like, well, let's see what we can do with this, because those who have been violated still cry from the grave.
I believe that.
Yes, I know it's the truth. I know it's the truth. They still cry. Our ancestors, let's don't even talk about that. Our ancestors still cry for the grave, but who will hear their cry? Now, I know the people are like, oh, what is she talking about? But those who get it, they get it.
Oh, I completely get it. I mean, my great grandma, I wish you could have met her. She was 102 when she passed last year.
God.
And, just phenomenal. She's seen so many changes in the world. I mean, from Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
She lived through the Great Depression. She moved up here when she was about 6 years old. She's from Texas. And so she did a lot in her life, but sometimes I wish she was still here so she could see all the modern stuff.
Did she see Obama?
Yes, she did.
Hey.
So she actually got a letter from them.
Oh, my God.
Because she turned 100.
Wow.
So we have it at my house in a plaque, and both him and Michelle signed it for her.
What a blessing. Well, I think that what we're talking about is an obligation for those of us who can speak to utilize our voices for things other than for ourselves. We murmuring and complaining how your life sucks when in actuality I'm sorry, when in actuality you're above dirt. You can get up right now and go and move and do whatever. And you have some people who are confined to graves, who don't have the opportunities that you have. So forgive me if I'm not sympathetic with your plight. I think that we need to find our passion, our purpose, our calling, and in doing so, you'll find out that your life is better than you think. My granddaughter, who's with me today, if she complaining about something she don't want to eat, she got to hear it all the time. Do you know how many kids in the world would give anything to have? And before I finished, she said, anything to have, but I don't want. So in other words, be grateful, right?
I mean, I tell people that all the time. When I go to work, I work in a cubicle. Okay. But when I see people come in every single day grumpy, I hate this, I hate that, my job sucks. Like you said, the word suck is everywhere. And I always come in with a smile. I tell people, life is too short. Be appreciative and grateful for the little things you have.
Gratitude will help you. It will help you.
I mean, you have a job, you got a house to go to every night, you got a car, you have a family.
Yeah. You know what? Can I just say that the work we're doing in Africa has taken me several times to Ghana. And when I first went, the person that coordinated the trip, she told us to pack a roll of toilet paper. Huh? Well, when I got there, I understood that toilet paper is a luxury.
Oh.
Yeah. So you talk about being grateful. Maybe you don't have the job you want, or the life you want, or the house you want, or the spouse you want. But do you have a roll of toilet paper? Let's just break it down. Do you have a glass of water? Do you have a loaf of bread? And I think that when we realize that we have more to be grateful for than we do to feel sorry about, our life can take a turn.
Absolutely. We need to, like I said, be grateful for the little things. One of my friends used to tell me, when you feel sad or upset about something, write the 7 things that you're grateful for to remind you that life isn't all that bad.
It doesn't always suck. So, I'm sorry. So, Gloria Pointer was 14 years old when she was brutally raped and murdered. And it was 29 years before her case was solved. I will never forget her body was so severely beaten that it took them several days at the funeral home to get her presentable for viewing. And on the day that they called and said she was ready, of course, our family got ready to go. I said, no, I'm going to go by myself. They said, we'll go with you. No, I said, no, I'm going to do this alone. And so when I stood over her, I said, not knowing what I was saying, I said, I'm going to find out who did this, because this should not have happened. I just didn't know it was going to take 29 years to come face to face with that person, but I never one time had any doubt that I was going to come face to face with them. Because if you seek, you're going to find. So many times I'm working with families whose cases are not solved, and my words to them is just don't ever give up the search. If everybody else give up, you stay the course. And I believe that it will happen. We were fortunate now because DNA back then is different than DNA now. So all they need is just a little bit of evidence in DNA, and they can find you.
Absolutely. Thank you again, Dr. Pointer, for coming on with me.
You know what? Thank you for having me. I really appreciate an opportunity to talk about hope and goodness.
Absolutely. So, Dr. Pointer, you were giving us the story about your daughter, Gloria, who was murdered in 1984. A couple weeks ago, there was a verdict given in the case of Amber Geiger, the former Dallas police officer who killed Botham Jean right in his apartment last year. So a lot of people had mixed emotions about the case and how she was given very, very nice treatment from the judge, and even to Botham's brother giving her a hug and forgave her. So you were in that same position. You came face to face with your daughter's murderer. How did you make the decision to pray with him and go see him?
Well, if I don't want it to sound as if I'm some kind of superhuman person. I keep telling everybody I'm just an average person on this journey called life that seeks help and support from a higher power, a higher source. And when I stood in the courtroom and said to Mr. Warren, my daughter's killer, I said, I forgive you. And it wasn't because I did it for him. I did it so that I might live. See, unforgiveness is like a cancer. It's like something that will suck the life out of you. We keep talking about sucks, okay? So some people who are having these sucky lives, it may be that you are harboring unforgiveness. But when you think about this fact that I've been forgiven, now maybe I didn't do murder, maybe I didn't smoke crack, but all of us, have fallen short of God's glory. So when the young man did that, I could understand it, that it was not about the young lady that he forgave. It was about his life and his being able to be free. Because when you hold on to unforgiveness, you allow that individual to occupy space in your mind, in your body, in your spirit. You can't be free because they right there with you. And the only way you're going to be free from it, you have to release it. You have to release it. And I get that everybody is not able to do that. Sometimes anger is a constant companion. But do you know what? That's a choice you make. And anytime you choose to let it go, it no longer has authority over you. Now, when I was able to forgive him by God's grace, that does not mean I want him over for Sunday dinner. No, let's make it plain. The young man may not want to ever engage with her again. I have a story right now of a lady named Mary, and her son's killer was called O'Shea, Marion O'Shea. She was not only able to forgive him, but she told him, when you get out of prison, you're going to do everything for me that my son would have done. You're going to take out my trash. You're going to do X, Y, and Z. So they go all over the country talking about forgiveness. And I read somewhere that when Mary was married recently, that O'Shea walked her down the aisle, just like her son would have done. So here's another example. Have you ever heard of somebody that a car has fallen over on a baby in an accident, and somewhere and somehow the mother is able to lift the car up off the child? Now, come on, you go out there right now and try to lift the car, you're gonna hurt yourself, right? But when the time comes, there is supernatural strength for you to do something supernatural, and that may come down to forgiving.
Well, I think a lot of people, like you said, are harboring the anger, which it's understandable.
It's understandable.
But I think forgiveness, like you said, sets you free. But just because you forgive the person doesn't mean you have to hang out with them.
You don't have to.
You know, like this story you mentioned about Mary and O'Shea, and she's having this guy take out the trash and walk her down the aisle.
Right.
Now that's forgiveness on a whole nother level.
But it's your choice how you choose to do it. So who are we to judge the young man? Who are we to judge? We're not walking in his shoes. You don't know what you would do in a situation. So it's best not to judge. Opinions are just that. It's your opinion, and you are entitled to it. But it does not become my reality unless I choose to make it. I give you your right to have your opinion, but that's all it is. So we don't know what his life is like. We can't judge any of them. Okay, does that mean that the young lady should get away with it? Hey, I'm not even on that. That's between her and her God, right? It's not for me to judge her either, because I'm not in her shoes. I'm having enough trouble walking in my own shoes. I don't need to walk in yours and mine too, okay?
Right. You don't need to put on an extra pair when you already got a whole row of them around you.
Yeah. I'd rather just try to figure my life out.
Absolutely. So, Dr. Pointer, a couple weeks ago, we saw that the community, the mayor, they had a press conference about the 4 individuals that they found in that house off of Kinsman. They're trying to encourage people to get rid of the no snitch culture. Is that possible in our community?
I think all things are possible if you walk in somebody's shoes. Okay, they have made it so easy today for people to give information. You can do it anonymously. You don't even have to reveal who you are. And if some kind of way we can say, what if it was my loved one? And I don't know who said this, but I think I read it somewhere that the only way that evil can prosper is when good people do nothing. So if you know something, you have to say something. And you're not classified as a snitch. You're just like, we will not stand for injustices. And most people don't want to talk because they're afraid something going to happen to them if they do. But hello, if we are one and something happens to our sister or our brother, something has already happened to you. Can you get that understanding? So that may not have been your children in that in that house, but it was somebody's child. And that family wants to know what happened. So if you know something, you have to say something, even if you say it anonymously.
Yeah. This is what I sometimes don't understand today, is that people are so quick to take a video of people fighting in restaurants, fighting at little kids events, but they won't speak up about something like this.
I think our culture along the way, we have lost something. We were not always like that. It used to be a time if you were baking and you ran out of sugar in the midst of it, you could knock on your neighbor's door because and say, "Can I borrow a cup of sugar?" And it was just, that's the way it was. We cared for one another. And I think we need to get back to that. We just need to get back to the fact that I need you and you need me. We're all in this thing together, and stop this division and this separatism, because otherwise it's not going to get any better. But I am just a believer in hope. I just believe in hope.
Yeah, I mean, you've shown it. I mean, look at where it got you. I mean, the fact that for 29 years you waited and you got your answer.
And I am nothing but average. I keep saying that. People want to make me more than I am, but I realize that what God has done for me, he'll do it for anybody that will just put themselves in a position to receive.
Well, and then you also have to ask.
Yeah, you got to ask.
With an open heart.
Yeah, you have to
ask.
ask.
And an open mind, and ask for the guidance.
Yes.
Because I'm a firm believer, God won't put you through something without, him being with you.
Yeah.
He won't just say, "Oh, there you go. Go right out there."
No, but it takes faith to even believe that. And a lot of people don't practice it. Because they're looking at like, well, if he's so real and so good, why is all of this happening? I can tell you a story. I had a friend once who wanted an outfit, and the outfit was at a store in Rocky River. And I said to her, "Well, just go get it." And she explained why she couldn't. I think it might have been she didn't have the money. I don't know what it was. But I went over and got it, brought it, and took it to her. And she was like, "Oh, thank you." I said, "Well, really, God wanted you to have it. But here's the thing. He could have brought it to you. But can you imagine the accidents that would have happened had people seen a suit walking down the freeway by itself?" So what did he need? Someone's hands, someone's feet to go and get it. So people keep saying, "Where is God?" God is saying, "Where are you?" He's a
Right.
spirit. He needs your hands and your feet to go. So I'm saying that about the suit. He could do it without us, but it would help situations better if we just say, "Here's my hands, here's my feet, use me."
And we have to do it openly. Not, "Well, I'm going to do this if you give me this."
Yeah, no.
And that's what I think people have the wrong impression. Like, "Well, he'll do this as long as I can get this,"
I know.
That's kind of where, like you said, we're kind of lost.
Yeah.
When it comes to our values, our faith. I mean, I rarely even hear anybody talk about church or God anywhere.
Well, that's all I can talk about. So
Hey, I hear that.
When people ask me to come, I say, "I'm just telling you what's going to come out. It's going to come out because that's my source of strength. My hope."
Absolutely. Dr. Yvonne Pointer is laying down the laws of life. I mean, just having the little bit of faith and hope, it'll get you a far direction, right?
Yeah, as a mustard seed. You don't even have to have a lot. A lot of times people look at me like I'm some wonder. I keep saying I'm average. I'm telling you what my source of my strength comes from. It's from God, who created all of this. And I know people like, "Well, if he's so good, why does all this happen?" And we talked earlier about that we are his hands, we are his feet. We want things to be better. We want things to change. Well, we're the change.
Yeah.
You I don't want to say is it, but you is it. You is it. You have to say, "I'm going to go to the schools. I'm going to go out into my communities. I'm going to be the one." And then when people say, "Well, what can I do?" Well, one person can make a difference. Believe me when I tell you, one person can make a difference. just think about, a lot of times people ask me about the connection in Africa. If I could lead into that. There was a boy in Ghana in a village who was hungry and was questioning the existence of God. If God is so real, and he wrote me a letter and said this, if God is so real, why won't he feed us? That was a simple question. And on the ground in Ghana, in a village, was a piece of paper that talked about the brutal rape and murder of my daughter, Gloria. How did the paper get there? At the feet of a boy who's questioning God's existence. So he was writing me a letter from Ghana to say, I'm sorry to hear about the murder of your girl child. I'm like, huh? What? No, think about it.
Yeah, like where did
this come from? And so I'm like, with the letter, God, what do you want me to do? And it just was plain as day. I want you to feed him. Okay, how am I feed somebody in Africa? How does this even happen? What do I do? And here's what I'm telling you, listeners. You don't have to know how to do it. You just have to be willing to do it. So after I affirmed that it was correct and this was a legitimate thing and not a scam, the boy had a dream. And in the dream in Ghana, he dreamed that he was supposed to start an organization in Ghana in memory of my daughter. So he's over in Africa forming the Gloria Pointer teen movement with kids, and then I'm in America. As I go out to speak or sell books and I get some money, I'm sending it for food for these children. And this goes on, Portia, for 5 years.
Wow.
5 years before they finally invite me to come to Ghana to see this work. I'm like, baby, I don't know nothing about Ghana. How do I even get to Ghana? And I met a very close friend of mine, Dr. Charlize Pratt, who just happened to be going to Ghana at the time. And I said, well, Dr. Pratt, I'd like to go with you. And when I got to Africa, thank God, I gotta say, I won an award from actress Queen Latifah, and that award carried a monetary value. I used that money, went to Ghana, and got off the plane, and those children were surrounding me, singing an anthem in my daughter's name. I wept and cried and wept and cried. And I said, okay, God, again, who will go for him? He needs your feet and hands. So the next time I went back, the second time I went back, it came to my mind to build a school. Huh? How you build a school in Ghana? I mean, what? I'm just average. I don't do this. Well, all I can say is in 2015, 22 of us went back to open the first Gloria Pointer International Education Center in Ghana, West Africa. It is such an amazing facility. It's in a village that didn't have water and electricity, and that school has a shower and toilets, and people might say, well, how did you do that? I'm so glad you asked that question. With my average self, all you have to do is, like you said, open your hands and be willing. When the resources came through me, I let them continue to flow back into Ghana. And we started with someone giving us the land, Chief Nana Aduakwa. Then little bit by little bit, we got money. We sent it over to the builders, and that is how it happened. So now here we are, some 3.5 years later. The school is like thriving. It's amazing. It's wonderful. And it all came out of, now what, let's go back to unforgiveness. What if I would have harbored all that unforgiveness in my heart? Do you understand? Unforgiveness takes up a lot of room. So you can't, nothing else can flow through you. So because I was able, by God's grace, to get that hatred, get that unforgiveness out, I was able to let some goodness flow, and it has now reached the children in Ghana, West Africa, among other places, because there's a scholarship in her name at John Hay where children get $2,000 a year in the name of Gloria Pointer. And guess what? It's not GPA based. It's if these kids have been victimized by violence and you want to go to college, then you can apply for her scholarship.
Excellent.
A lot of stuff.
Now, question about your school in Ghana. Is it K through 6 or?
It's more of, listen, a preschool 1 through 5 years old. It's almost like the Taj Mahal in the village. So, but when the kids leave her school, then they have to go to the village school, which is not as it's nice. So now we're trying to talk to people about helping us to improve those schools. They still, when I tell you bring toilet paper, okay, they still, some of them in the village use the restrooms outside. They don't have the luxuries and the amenities that we have. So when I'm talking to people about you can help us, oh, I can't help. Yes, you can. You can say, look, I want to know, how do I get some toilets in here, or how do I get some electricity? And it's just a whole, it's a lot. It's a lot. But
now,
you can do it.
Now, do the kids, you said it's from 1 to 5?
5, yes.
Okay. Do the kids get to, is there like a partnership where they can come over to the States potentially? Or is it just strictly the school is there?
It's the school is strictly there, but I'm so open and so willing to be used. Wouldn't that be wonderful? The young man that found the paper, he was 17 years old at the time, and he's almost 30. And so we have built other schools since then, and I dream that he could come here. But guess what, Portia? Do we really want them to? Because the things we struggle with here, they don't know anything about that. They don't know anything about leaving bodies in a house decomposed, or they're just happy and loving. We need to be going there to try to find out some gratitude and appreciation. What is it that they have that we don't? When I went and I saw them people so happy, still living in huts and not having a cold glass of Pepsi, and I'm just crying, And they like, what, madam, don't cry. They're happy. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, how can you be happy? You don't have nothing. Or maybe we're unhappy because we have too much.
That could be the case. Or, we see people that have things that we want that we don't have.
Yeah. Yeah, well, they don't have it, but they don't go knock you in the head and take it. Give me your wallet because I don't have any money. That's not the way this thing works. So I think those of us, again, that has a voice, we have an obligation to teach,
mm-hmm.
To teach. We got to tell them that this is not how this works. You don't have a right to my stuff. This is my stuff, right? And I think that until people step up and speak up, it's going to always be the evil that seems to have its way, because the good, the righteous are not speaking against it. And how many times, you talking about your grandma, how many times they say, you're not doing it in my house. You could take that down the street and around the corner. But it's not happening here.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I think we're going to have to do. We're going to have to speak up.
We need to speak up, and we also need to stop turning a blind eye.
Yeah.
Because that's another thing that's landing us back in hot water.
Well, if you see something, you have to say something. I'm that nosy neighbor. The ones you hate. Don't you hate them? I'm looking out the window like, what you doing? Put that down. And my children used to say, why don't you just be quiet? I'm not going to be quiet. We did a book with some kids in a rec center. And when I was a little girl, I was always asking questions. And my mother would say, girl, if you don't sit down and shut up. And so my story in the book was, don't sit down and don't shut up. If you got something to say, say it.
Absolutely. I mean, especially if it's something that will help.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I remember my great grandma used to say, a closed mouth don't get fed.
Well, here's what we know for a fact, that if you want change, then you have to be the change. Period.
Dr. Pointer, how can we encourage our young people to be proactive and get involved in the community?
What we have to start by doing is recognizing that not all young people are going to hell in a handbasket. You got some young people that's doing some amazing things. I was just at Kent State University the other day.
My alma mater.
It was some young people who had gone to Ghana, who had gone to Gloria School from Kent State, and I went there to speak to them. So they don't get recognition. The only people that get the recognition is the shoot 'em up, bang bang drug dealers. So the way we can encourage young people to get involved is by lifting up those that are involved, highlighting the students that's not selling drugs, highlight the students that are going to college. We can use them as an example, as a shining light. So when I'm there at Kent State with these two beautiful sisters, little young ladies, little chocolate, beautiful young ladies, I said, now who would even know that you exist? So we got to find a way to highlight the good and let them speak the language. Now, I'm going to tell you why I know that's right, because you give me a phone. I don't know what to do with that phone. But you give it to my granddaughter, she'll give it to me. And before you know it, she's done it. So maybe they don't hear us. So we got to, like with Dr. King, you know who did that? It was the young people, right, that started those movements. Maybe we have to rally the troops from within. I had a young man that passed away recently, Rob McQueen, and some people might say that Rob J., that's what we called him, was like a thug because he looked like a thug. But guess what? In actuality, he wasn't. He just played the role to infiltrate the thug life. Y'all better hear what I said.
Smarter than what you thought.
Yeah. He going in to get the thugs out. So he had to go undercover. So maybe what we need to do is to say to these young, successful people, these young kids in college, get your education, but come back and let somebody see your light so they can have a path out of darkness.
Absolutely. Dr. Pointer, you're just laying down some good foundation here for our listeners.
I love it. Thank you. And anybody that wants to get in touch with me, you know, I'm on Facebook. We do a Facebook Live show every day, Monday through Friday at 8 o'clock, live in the Hope Haven, where we just doing this since 2016, Monday through Friday. We just giving what we have and words of wisdom.
Dr. Pointer, do you have any upcoming events that maybe people might be interested in coming to?
Oh, my goodness. I speak all over the city, so I don't have an event in particular. But when I do get one, you're going to be the first one.
All right. I'll definitely be there.
But if you see, can we go back to homicides that are unsolved? If you see something, say something, even if you have to say it anonymously.
Yeah. I mean, it only takes a second, you know, and I always try to tell people, think of it as if it was you in that situation.
Yeah.
Because I think we've all been either connected to somebody who's experienced a homicide. We've either been that person. I mean, I've been in a similar situation. My cousin was murdered a couple years ago. She was one of the young ladies in that house in East Cleveland with Michael Madison. And I remember that summer when we were putting out the flyers and, you know, we were looking for her and stuff. And I remember my cousin said that they were getting all these false leads. And I'm just thinking, really? Why would people have the nerve to, you know, say that? And it's not true.
Well, people, again, are just people. You know, we expect them to be God, and they're not, you know. So what we can do is just kind of monitor ourselves, make sure we're on our path. And then another thing I got to say, the perpetrators, What kind of pain do they have to be in to inflict that kind of pain? Somebody got to deal with them, right? You know, you want them to burn and rot in hell, but hey, somebody got to speak life even to them so that they can turn from their evil and wicked ways. Maybe they don't know that there's another way. I'm just saying, we got a whole lot of work to do. And the question becomes, who's going to do it?
Ain't that right? Who is going to do it? You can't rely on Superman, even though Superman was born here in Cleveland. But
even he had his kryptonite. So stop, okay?
Absolutely. Yes, he did. Thank you again, Dr. Yvonne Pointer, for coming in and talking to our listeners about hope and forgiveness. Before we head out, Dr. Pointer, what advice can you leave with our listeners today?
I would just say, if you woke up this morning and you looked down at your feet and you were on this side of the dirt, then you still have a chance to get it done. Whatever it is that you would like to see done, get busy doing it. You're it. I don't think there's going to be another one other than you, because you are fearfully and wonderfully made. You are qualified. There's nobody better than you to do it. So just go ahead and get started. And if you want to know more about the work in Africa, we have a website. It's www.yvonnepointer.com. Or if you want me to come and speak to your group, I'll be happy to do that.
Well, thank you, Dr. Pointer. Definitely check out her website, www.yvonnepointer.com. You know, if you're interested in, seeing also her Facebook Live, she does them every day. Get your food for thought from her, Dr. Yvonne Pointer. Thank you again, Dr. Yvonne Pointer.
Thank you, Portia. And you continue to keep up the great work. And a shout out to Jay, the gospel kid, who I love and appreciate what you all are doing down here. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pointer. Yes, Dr. Pointer just came in here and gave us a handful of things to think about. Definitely, if you see something, say something. Always. Just always think of, if you were in that predicament, what would you want to do? What would you want other people to do?